I'm glad you're here at Beyond 60 Stories, where every life has a story to tell. I am 81 years old, and there is a truth I learned far too late. Most of what we are told about age, success, and living later is simply not true. For decades, I believed there would be time to slow down, time to travel, time to love more deeply, time to live once the work was finished and the responsibilities were handled. I told myself what so many people tell themselves without realizing the cost. Not now, someday. At 62, a heart attack stopped that story. Not gradually, not gently. It stopped it all at once. Lying in a hospital bed, I realized I had lived almost my entire adult life on autopilot, chasing work, chasing money, chasing expectations that were never fully mine. And in doing so, I postponed the very things that made life feel alive. In today's video, we're revealing what changed after that moment and why realizing that time is limited is often the moment a person truly begins to live. Before we continue, take a moment to tap the like button and subscribe to Beyond 60 Stories. These stories are not about advice. They are about remembering what matters before time makes the choice for us. Now, let me tell you what I wish I had understood much sooner.
The quiet cost of living for later. For most of my life, I believed love could wait. Not because I didn't value it, but because I assumed it would still be there when everything else was settled. Work first, stability first, responsibility first. Love, connection, presence, those were rewards I believed I would earn once I had proven myself useful enough to the world. This way of thinking felt responsible. It was praised. People called it discipline, ambition, maturity. And so I rarely questioned it. I told myself I was building something meaningful, even as the days passed quickly and the years followed without pause. I did not notice how often I postponed simple moments of closeness because I was tired, distracted, or preoccupied with what came next. What I did not understand then was that love does not live in milestones. It lives in attention. And attention, once deferred often enough, begins to thin out quietly. You don't notice it disappearing. You just feel a growing sense of distance and call it normal adulthood. I remember believing that love was something solid and permanent, something that could be placed on a shelf and returned to later without consequence. But love is not an object you store. It is an experience that either happens now or not at all. When postponed repeatedly, it does not stay still. It fades, reshapes, or sometimes walks away without a sound. There is a particular kind of loneliness that comes from living among people you care about, but rarely being fully present with them. You share meals, conversations, routines, yet something essential remains untouched. Not because anyone is unkind, but because everyone is busy waiting for a future that keeps moving further ahead. Looking back, I see how often I confused provision with presence. I thought showing love meant securing comfort, planning ahead, handling problems. Those things matter, but they are not substitutes for being there, for listening without hurry, for choosing connection even when it feels inconvenient. Love does not ask for perfection, it asks for availability. And availability cannot be postponed indefinitely, without cost. The cost is subtle at first: a missed conversation, a postponed visit, a promise to do it next year instead. Over time, these small delays accumulate into something heavier than any single mistake. What makes this realization painful is not guilt, but clarity. I was not cruel, I was not careless, I was simply convinced I had time, and that belief shaped every decision more than I ever realized. If you are listening and recognizing this pattern in your own life, there is no judgment here, only recognition. Many of us were taught to live this way. We inherited it, we rewarded it, we rarely questioned it. But here is what became clear to me much later than I wish it had. Love experienced later is not the same as love lived now. It carries more caution, more memory, more awareness of loss. It can still be meaningful, but it is never untouched by the knowledge of what was missed. This is not a call to abandon responsibility or undo the past. It is simply an invitation to notice where you may still be postponing presence in the name of preparedness, where you may still be telling yourself that closeness can wait until things calm down. Because things rarely calm down on their own, life does not slow because we ask it to. It slows only when we choose differently. What follows next is not about regret, but about a realization that changed the direction of my life entirely once I could no longer ignore it.
The most dangerous lie: I still have time. There is one sentence that quietly shapes more lives than we are willing to admit. It sounds harmless, sensible even. I will do that later. I still have time. It is not spoken with arrogance. It is spoken with calm confidence, as if time were a personal resource we control rather than a current we are standing in without noticing how fast it moves. This belief does not arrive all at once. It builds slowly, reinforced by routines, calendars, and long-term plans. We tell ourselves we are being practical when we delay joy. We call it patience when we postpone meaning. We label it responsibility when we sacrifice presence. And because society rewards productivity and future planning, this belief is rarely challenged. But the truth is simple and uncomfortable. Later is not a place we eventually reach. It is a moving horizon. Every time you arrive, it has already shifted further away. The project finishes and another begins. The children grow up, and new concerns replace old ones. Retirement comes, and suddenly the body has opinions the calendar never warned you about. What makes this lie so dangerous is that it feels reasonable. It does not warn you. It does not rush you. It tells you that you are doing fine, that there is no need to hurry, that life will wait until you are ready. But life does not wait. It continues, quietly and consistently, whether we are paying attention or not. Many people believe success will create space for living, but success has a habit of filling every space it creates. The satisfaction it offers is brief, almost polite. It arrives, nods, and leaves you looking for the next achievement. Meanwhile, the moments that require nothing but presence, the conversations, the shared silence, the simple experiences, are the ones most often postponed. When people reach later life, the regrets they carry are rarely about effort or ambition. They are about absence, about moments they were physically present for but mentally elsewhere, about relationships assumed to be stable enough to wait, about experiences postponed until the right time that never felt quite right once it arrived. If this reflection feels familiar, you are not alone. Many thoughtful, capable people live this way without ever questioning it. If you feel comfortable, share in the comments where you once told yourself later and what that word cost you. Your reflection may help someone else notice their own timeline before it quietly slips by.
When time became visible, life became honest. After the heart attack, people expected me to be afraid. They asked if I was scared of dying, if I had seen my life flash before my eyes. But fear was not what stayed with me. What stayed was something quieter and far more unsettling. I became aware of time in a way I never had before, not as numbers on a calendar, but as something alive, moving, and undeniably finite. For the first time, I could feel the weight of each day, not heavy in a depressing way, but meaningful.
Before, days had blended together. Workdays, weekends, years passed in a steady rhythm that felt endless. Now, each morning carried a subtle question: how will I use this one? Not productively, not efficiently, but truthfully. I began to see how much of my life had been organized around endurance rather than intention. I had trained myself to tolerate long stretches of dissatisfaction because I believed that endurance was strength. But endurance without purpose is just delay. Once time became visible, delay felt dishonest. I did not make dramatic changes overnight. There was no grand declaration, no sudden escape from responsibility. What changed was simpler and more profound. I reduced what did not matter. I stopped saying yes automatically. I allowed silence into conversations instead of filling it with plans. I paid attention to how things felt, not how they looked from the outside. Work became smaller, but life became larger. I noticed how much energy I had been spending maintaining an image of usefulness. When that image loosened, something unexpected happened. I became more present, and presence, I learned, is what gives love its depth. Not intensity, not novelty, presence. I began to understand that meaning does not come from adding more, but from subtracting what distracts. When you know time is limited, you stop cluttering it with obligations that do not reflect who you are. You choose conversations over accomplishments, experiences over explanations, being over becoming. Love changed too. It became less performative and more honest. I no longer felt the need to prove devotion through effort alone. Love expressed itself through listening, through attention, through shared moments that did not need to lead anywhere. I realized how often I had treated love as something that had to fit around life, rather than something life should be built around. This shift did not erase regret, but it softened it. Regret loses its sharpness when it becomes a guide rather than a judge. I could not return to earlier years, but I could stop repeating the same pattern, and that choice mattered more than any apology I could offer myself. What surprised me most was how alive life felt once I stopped living on autopilot. Colors seemed sharper, conversations felt slower, even ordinary moments carried a quiet richness. This was not because life had improved dramatically, but because I was finally present for it. There is one final understanding that grew out of this shift, a message simple enough to sound obvious, yet powerful enough to change how a life is lived when truly understood.
Do not wait for someday to begin living. There is a moment in every life when clarity arrives, quietly, not as urgency or fear, but as a simple understanding that waiting has become a habit rather than a necessity. Someday feels safe because it carries no responsibility. It asks nothing of us now. And that is precisely why it is so dangerous. Someday is where we place the life we are afraid to claim. It is where we store the trips we will take when work slows down, the conversations we will have when the timing feels right, the version of ourselves we promise to become once conditions improve. Someday is not laziness. It is often hope wearing the disguise of patience. But life does not open all at once. It opens in small, ordinary moments that rarely announce themselves as important. If you wait for certainty before you live fully, you will spend most of your life preparing rather than experiencing. Meaning does not arrive after everything is arranged. It arrives while things are still unfinished. Living with intention does not require radical change. It requires honesty. Honesty about what you keep postponing. Honesty about who you keep promising time to later. Honesty about the experiences that quietly matter more than the goals you keep chasing because they look sensible. When people finally understand that time is finite, they often believe they must rush, but the opposite is true. Awareness of time does not create panic, it creates clarity. You stop filling your days with what impresses others and begin choosing what feels real to you. Love becomes less about future security and more about present connection.
If I could leave you with one understanding, it would be this. Life does not begin after the plan is complete. It begins the moment you stop waiting for permission to live honestly. Time does not ask whether you are ready. It only asks whether you are present. You do not need to undo the past to live differently now. You only need to recognize that attention, love, and meaning are always offered in the present tense. When you stop postponing them, life responds immediately, not dramatically, but quietly and deeply. If this reflection felt meaningful to you, consider liking the video and subscribing to Beyond 60 Stories. And tell us in the comments what you would like to hear more about on this channel. What questions, experiences, or reflections would you want to explore next? Thank you for being here and for listening with the wisdom your own life has already given you.